Section 89 panel led by former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo says President Ramaphosa may have a case to answer in Parliament as he may have violated the Constitution and committed serious misconduct. We're now joined by Pierre de Vos, a legal expert, on the legal implications of this, if you will. Pierre, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. Let's take a look, perhaps for the sake of the conversation, at the legal framework for removal from office that the panel dealt with. And they go on to set out the constitutional provisions for the removal from office, and they detail the Section 89 of the Constitution provides that a sitting president may be removed from office on the grounds of a serious violation of the Constitution or the law, serious misconduct or inability to perform functions of the office. And you take a look at the recommendations, and it says there's prima facie evidence that the president may have committed a serious violation of Section 96, a serious violation of Section 34, and on it goes on page 82. How should we understand that, especially with the wording, the president may have committed the following?
Well, the rules of the National Assembly dealing with this is clear. So let's leave what this means politically to the side. Legally, the rules say that the National Assembly is the body that makes the decision first in whether a committee will be established to further investigate, a bit like the committee currently hearing the impeachment process into the public protector. And also, in the end, the National Assembly will vote whether to impeach or not. It is not bound by this report. So it can decide, if the ANC instructs its members in the National Assembly to vote against the establishment of a committee, that legally would probably be the end of the matter. How this plays out politically and what voters would think if the ANC MPs act in this way is, of course, a different matter.
Taking a look at some of the issues that the committee was tasked with looking into, right? And perhaps let's go to the storage of the money inside a sofa to assess whether legally there was a problem or the law was broken. On the storage of money inside a sofa on page 41, it reads that the president said the following concerning where the money was kept. Mr. Ngcobo was due to go home on leave on the 30th of December. On it goes, but it suggests that this money was stored inside the pillow of a sofa, and that was because Mr. Ngcobo did not trust leaving the money inside a safe, and he thought it would be safer to put the money in the couch. And so the committee is asking a number of questions, including why, when he came back from leave, that money, or before he even went on leave, that money was not banked or that money was not removed post that. There's an issue also of that, an issue of invoices that are not being able to be found. For the legal bodies that will be tasked with looking into the evidence, what role does some of the piece of information contained herein, specifically this, play in assisting them?
I can't hear you now.
Okay, so there's a number of issues, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sorry,
okay.
I heard most of it, just don't
No problem. Page 41 deals with the storage of money in the sofa. The president gives an account of what happened. A particular Mr. Ngcobo decided that it would be safer to keep the money in the sofa, in the pillow of a sofa, instead of in the safe. And the committee asked a number of questions and finds that a little bit problematic. And then there's another issue of VAT laws in the country that the committee is also wondering, why is there no invoice and whether the law was broken there. So for legal entities, from a legal point of view, that will be tasked with taking a look at some of the evidence, that which is contained in this report, how far will it go in assisting them?
Well, you see, the panel's mandate is limited. It could only rely on the information put before it by those members of Parliament who tabled the impeachment motion, other members of Parliament and the President. It didn't have access because the rules do not provide for this of all the other investigations, what is happening with SARS and so on. So we don't know what the situation is. The panel report is not really going to help with that. We will have to, obviously, there will have to be evidence either way, whether the president reported this to SARS, whether there were violations of exchange controls. Normally you have to, if you have dollars or whatever, it has to be changed within 2 or 3 days, otherwise there's a criminal offense. So all of these things will have to be investigated by the Hawks or whoever is responsible for this. The panel just said there were 2 versions, the president's version and then Mr. Fraser's version in effect, and they found that on balance of probabilities, the president's version doesn't really hold up. So that is obviously quite a devastating finding to make. Because it suggests that the president fabricated, or other people at Phala Phala fabricated this invoice, which didn't have any information about this person except their name, not their address, not their ID number, passport number, whatever. So that is quite a serious matter. Whether it amounts to criminal offenses and who is responsible for this is something that needs further investigation.
So beyond the noise, Pierre, legally, what options are available for the president, if any?
Yes, so I was wondering, I think there might be, the one option would be, of course, if the report is reviewable, I think it is, then the president can try and stall, the tactics that his predecessor also used by going to the court and trying to review and set aside this report. There might be technical questions whether this report is reviewable, but if we assume that, that's one option. The other option, and what is really at the heart of this matter, is a political question, and that is what happens in the ANC and the ANC-NEC. If it decides to back the president, then it's going to instruct its MPs in the National Assembly to vote against the establishment of a committee to look into this further, and that will then be the end of this process, but of course it's not going to be the end of the scandal.
So essentially his fate is in the hands of his comrades. Perhaps when you take a look at another political question, reaction coming through thick and fast. The Democratic Alliance, Mmusi Maimane, also noting and calling for an early election in South Africa. Potentially, how could that play itself out?
Well, the Constitution allows the National Assembly to dissolve itself after at least 3 years has elapsed since the last election, and it requires a majority vote. So once again, there will not be an early election unless the majority of MPs support it and dissolve the National Assembly. That will only happen if the ANC supports it, and I must say I'm not a politician, but I will be surprised if they do, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Did it have to get this far, Pierre?
Sorry?
Did it have to get this far? Did it have to come to this point?
Well, the report from the independent panel suggests that what happened here is that there was clearly something that happened. Money was stolen. We don't really, the source of the money is difficult. And the president has not been very detailed in his response. So that for me is one of the interesting and maybe most devastating parts of the report. Perhaps why is he not more responsive and more detailed in his responses? Is there something to hide? Maybe this was the only way it was going to go, because, of course, if there was nothing wrong, the president could have given a full account, and that would have been the end of the matter. But maybe, we don't know, but that option might not be open to him.
Pierre de Vos is a legal expert. Thank you very much for availing yourself.